In this video, I'm going to outline a few changes you could potentially make to the application to keep working on it and to keep enhancing your skills. And this is also a place for you to post any changes you might make. So if you actually implement any of the features I talk about here or any other new feature to Expensify, please open up a question in the Q&A for this video. Post exactly what you did. Maybe you include the source code, a link to the updated application, and describe exactly what challenges you ran into as you tried to make the changes. So to get you rolling, I have come up with 4 ideas that you could add right now with what you know. So first up, adding a confirmation modal when removing an expense. So right now, when I do remove an expense, I click the button and it's gone, which means that if I were to misclick, it's too late. The expense has been deleted. What I would like to do is show a modal when I click the remove expense button. It would show a couple of buttons and a message. Do you actually want to delete this? If I click yes, then and only then will the expense be deleted. If I click no, it won't actually delete the expense. So you can create that confirmation modal with something like React Modal, which we used for the indecision application. Number 2, show the number of hidden expenses in the dashboard page summary. So if I were to add an expense like rent, and I were to add it far in the past or in the future, it wouldn't show up if I have the default filters in place. So I add the new expense, I come over here, and it's confusing why I'm not seeing the thing I just added. What I'd like to do is add a little message below this one that talks about the number of hidden expenses. So in this case, we have one hidden expense. It would say something like not showing one expense because of filters. Then if I were to remove the filters, it would say showing all expenses, no filters in place. So adding a little message below this one to describe the number of hidden expenses will just make the experience a little bit nicer, not giving the user any sort of confusing output. Number 3, you could add support for another social login system. Since Firebase does support GitHub, Facebook, and Twitter, that means you would just need to implement that provider, and you could add a second button right alongside of the current button over inside of the login page. So a user could click whichever button they want depending on which platform they want to log in with. Number 4 would be to buy a custom domain or use an existing domain you already have and configure it with Heroku. So instead of going to this URL, I would go to something like myapp.com or maybe a subdomain on a domain you already own. For example, I own mead.io. I could put this app at expensify.mead.io, and you can learn how to do all of this via the Heroku documentation for custom domains. So these are just 4 to get you started. You are by no means required to stop here. You don't have to do any of these if you don't find them interesting. Feel free to implement any new feature into Expensify you want. When you do though, do come back and post about it. I would love to see what you end up changing with the application, and I know that the other students will too. In my other courses, people constantly collaborate on these changes in the Q&A, and it's always cool to see what people end up building together. So there is the first set of changes you can make. Let's go ahead and continue on in the next video.